I'm here with Satish Kumar. Very honored to be here. I would like to ask you, Satish, what's the importance of creating this affection, this connection of affection with the Amazon rainforest?
When we love something, we take care of that something. So, loving Amazon is more important than thinking about politics or economics or technology. Our love of nature, our love of forests, our love of life will inspire us and transform our thinking so that we protect and conserve and take care. Because life has intrinsic value. Forests are not there only for human use. Forests are there in their own right. Humanity has been too obsessed to think in terms of human rights. We have to think about rights of nature, rights of Amazon forest, rights of Amazon river, rights of animals in that forest. So if we think in that term, then we will realize that we are all members of one earth community. And so the forests and the rivers and the animals in the Amazon forest and humans are all members of one earth community. If we have that sense, then we will not destroy. At the moment, we think that Amazon forest is there as a resource for the economy. We have to think differently. We have to think that Amazon and the river and the forest are not merely resource for the economy. They are source of life. There's a big difference between thinking something of resource for the economy or source for life. So if you think source of life, then you cannot cut the branch upon which you are sitting. You cannot cut the source of your life. So we have to change that thinking, our mindset. Then the rainforest and the Amazon forest will give us plenty for our livelihood. And even economy will be served by their presence and their existence. But if you destroy the source of life, then you can have a resource for the economy for a few years, 5, 10, 20 years. But then what? What will happen to our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren for generations to come? Therefore, we have to protect and take care of the Amazon forest and all the natural world in such a way that they can sustain life for millions of years to come. That is the message we need to spread.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are welcome.
May your words go through all over the world.
You are a journalist, you can spread the word. You have source and you have your kind of internet and all that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I answer your question?
Yes.
Right now, millions of people are suffering with displacement of their houses. They're being forced to do, let's say, a pilgrimage because they are being persecuted politically or religiously or sexually oriented. What would you say that this politics of Europe closing its borders with thousands of people dying in the Mediterranean Sea?
We have to think in two ways. Number one is we have to think what is the cause of these refugees coming to Europe. There are 2 or 3 causes. Number one cause is wars. In Syria, in Iraq, in Libya, all these countries we had wars. And those wars have created many refugees. So people are fleeing from their countries because they are war-torn and war-ridden. Therefore, if you don't want refugees, problem of refugees, then you have to stop fighting wars and find all our solutions through negotiations and peaceful means. So that's one cause of refugees. The second cause of refugees is climate and global warming. Because of climate change and global warming, lands are becoming barren and the rains are falling either infrequently or irregularly or a lot of drought and a lot of floods, and therefore climate change is one of the cause of refugees. Therefore, if we want no refugees or the solution to refugee problem, we have to address the climate change, and we have to make sure the land is in good state and the rainfall on time, and with no flooding or no drought, so that people can live where they are living happily and get their benefit from the land. The third cause is poverty. People have no land at all. People have no jobs, and their jobs have been taken away. All the kind of jobs are being made by machines, and therefore people have no work, no job, no life, and so they are economically deprived, and therefore they are coming here to Europe to find an economic well-being and a good jobs and good life. So if you don't want refugees, then you have to reduce the poverty, and you have to make sure that people, wherever they are, they have good food, good house, good job, good land, and they can live there without such problem. So unless you address these three issues, you will continuously have refugee problem all the time in the future. But that's a long term.
Yeah.
The short term, in Europe, we have plenty of space. In Europe, we have plenty of work. There is a lot of work to be done, and a lot of people are looking for people. And so I think as a humanitarian kind of attitude and a kind of generosity of heart and generosity of spirit, on the short term, we have to provide space and welcome them, and provide them work and provide them good livelihood. So that's a short term answer, that you give them space and give them refugee status. But in the long term, you have to reduce wars and conflicts, and you have to address the issue of global warming and climate change, and you have to address the issue of poverty. Unless you address those three issues, you will have refugee problem all the time to come in the future. So the short term, Europe must welcome them. The long term, must address the issues.
Yeah. One of the challenges we face right now in the world is the damage provoked by the war on drugs. Drugs had been banned, especially because of the politics imposed by the United States in the 70s. And now the damage provoked by the war is much bigger than the damage that could be provoked by the use of drugs. Do you see any alternative in the near future to changing this? In Brazil, we have a big problem about this, because only the black people, only the poor people go to prison, you know? So you have a very big distortion, social distortion about this. People could use drugs and have the help of the state as a health problem, as a health issue, and not as a police question. I'd like to know what you think about this.
Well, my view about drug situation is that it is a problem of ignorance, as a problem of lack of information and lack of education. You cannot stop the drug problem by making it illegal or arresting people or putting people in jail. That is not the way to solve the problem of drugs. Problem of drugs will be solved by education, and also why you have to make drugs illegal. You educate people not to take drugs, like alcohol. You educate people not to drink too much. Cigarette smoking, you advocate and educate people to smoke less or smoke not at all, because that can give you lung cancer or something like that. In the same way, about every drug, we must educate people. But making them illegal, you are creating criminal people to go underground and sell drugs and push drugs. So I think this illegality of drugs is a bigger problem. We must not have illegality. We must educate people, whether it's tobacco or alcohol or cocoa or some other cocaine or some other drugs. They all should be part of education and transformation and information rather than legality.
In your book, Soul, Soil and Society, you talk about the necessity of the humankind going back to its reconnection with Earth, and also the way we treat animals. I'd like you to talk a little bit. How do you see the relationship of the humankind right now with the animals they raise to serve as food for them?
The thing is that humans are also animals, and animals are animals. They have soul, they have spirit, they feel pain, they suffer. Therefore, we need to be compassionate. If you rear animals for meat, that is ecologically a disaster, because you need 5 times, 10 times more land to rear animals and then have meat of animals. Therefore, humanity should go more towards plant-based diet, more grain, more vegetables, more fruit, more herbs. If you have plant-based diet and maybe minimum small amount of meat of animals which are freely reared and they live a good life and then compassionately slaughtered on a very small scale. I'm a vegetarian completely. I don't touch meat. But I cannot expect whole world to go completely vegetarian. But this increasing amount of meat eating must be addressed, and we must reduce our meat consumption, minimize meat consumption. So because land is scarce, we have 7 billion people on this earth, and if everybody starts to eat meat like the Americans or the Europeans, then we will need 2 or 3 planets. We haven't got 2 or 3 planets, we have got only 1 planet. So in order to feed 7 billion people adequately and nicely and nutritiously, we need to grow more vegetables, more fruit, more grain and less meat.
You're a man that have traveled the world walking and pledging for peace, using no money at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you see the relationship of people now with money?
I think that money was invented as a good mechanism of facilitating exchange. It was a good means of exchange. But now, money has become the master, and people have become the servants of money. Money is no longer a means of exchange. Money has become a symbol of status, symbol of power, symbol of control. Therefore, I think we need to change our relationship with money. Money has a place, but it should be kept in its place and not allowed to control or rule or dominate human society. If we become slaves of money, and if the banks and money controls our lives, then we will lose humanity. At the moment, for example, in Greece, in other countries like that, they are struggling because of money supply. The Greek economy should be good because olive trees are not stopping producing olives, and the land is not stopping to produce food. The workers are not stopping to make good things like building house or making furniture or making shoes or shipping, or people are making things, people are working. It's the money which is becoming a problem. So we have to organize money in such a way that it serves humanity rather than control humanity or dominate humanity. And so we should not become slaves of money. Money should be our servant, not our master.
I have a question related to this. So regarding, so the people are too much concerned about getting money, and sometimes the people are doing too much work without thinking of what actually they want to do. You know, for example, I have a lot of friends that are doing masters, doctorates, just because they want to get more money. You know, how do you see how the behavior of the people nowadays? So this is stressful society that we
people have been conditioned to think that making large amount of money is a symbol of success. Therefore, we think that unless I make more money, I'm not successful. I'm a failure. That I want to change. I want people to think that success of life is not in how much money you have, but how much happiness you have, how much good health you have, how much good relationship you have with your family, with your community, with your friends. If you have good relationship, good health, good well-being, then that is a success. Money is only a means to facilitate your lifestyle. So At the moment, people work too hard, particularly in European countries, in big cities like London, New York, banks and so on. People work too hard, 5 days, 6 days a week. I want people to work no more than 3 days a week for money. And the rest of the time, they should do what they really want to do, their vocation, like gardening, walking, writing poetry, writing books, painting, music, poetry, whatever you want to do really, which has nothing to do with money, but with your satisfaction. You should have time for doing that. And how will you have time if you work from 9 to 5, 5 days, 6 days a week, weekends only to recover from that kind of fatigue and the kind of tiredness of working. And so people are not having any time to do their creative work, their imaginative work. And without creativity and without imagination, human life is barren. Human life is without, like a well without water. So what is the point of human life if you have no joy? And so I want to see people rethinking about their work life and reducing the days that they work every week.
And how do you think that people can start thinking about it? Because all of them are inserted into the system, and so it's actually hard to escape from it because people have bills to pay, and if they don't work like 6 days a week, they can, so they think at least they can survive. But how can people start doing something different?
It's a matter of communication. At the moment, people are to some extent ignorant. They are conditioned to think that only way to prove that you are successful, you need to make more money and work hard. If you can change that thinking by communication, by education. So we have to write about it. We have to have essays, we have to have books, we have to have videos, we have to have DVDs, we have to have this information spreading. Then look, the success of life is not measured by the amount of money you have, but the amount of happiness and good health you have, and good relationships with your friends and family and colleagues and neighborhood you have. That is a mark of success, and not how much money you have. If you have money but you are lonely, you are depressed, you are isolated, you have no friends, you have no good family, you have no time for yourself, no time for walking, no time for writing poetry, no time for music, no time for enjoying life, what's good of money? We have to communicate these ideas through media, whether it's internet or books or magazines, articles, whatever. So people, journalists need to write about it, and people write books about it and communicate these ideas.
You are the founder of Schumacher College, which has been promoting a revolution over the last 25 years in education and promoting also the caring of very brilliant people here in South Italy, in England. I'd like to know which are the books and the people that really transformed your life.
My life?
Yes.
One of the most influential person in my life has been E.F. Schumacher himself. And this is why we named this college after him. His idea, two most important ideas which has influenced me. One is small is beautiful. I think the human scale is very important. At the moment, everything is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. When things become bigger, then things have to be managed by bureaucracy. You cannot have human connection and human contact, because if you have 5,000 people working in a big company, how do you communicate with them? So you have to depend on bureaucracy. And bureaucracy means rules, and that means not using imagination and creativity of your members of your company. So small is beautiful. Small nations, small communities, small business, small hospitals, small schools, small universities. Keep them small, human scale. 400 people, 500 people, maybe 300 people, that's enough. More than that, it becomes too big. So small is beautiful principle is very, very important, and that has influenced me a lot. The second idea which Schumacher wrote in his book is called Buddhist economics. So economics by itself is not enough. Economics needs values. Economics needs vision. Economics needs ideals, ethics, moral principles, ecological principles, sustainability principles, social justice principles. All these principles must be embodied in our economic system. And that was the idea of Buddhist economics. Economics by itself is not enough. You can have lots of money, lots of economic growth, lots of GDP, and yet society can be very unecological, unhappy, unethical, and immoral. And therefore, economics must be married with spiritual and Buddhist or Christian or whatever moral principles, ethical principles. That's it. Buddhist is a metaphor for ethics and moral principles. So spirituality. So if you can bring spirituality and economy together, then I think you can have a much healthy economy. That was Schumacher's idea, Buddhist economics. So small is beautiful and Buddhist economics or spiritual economics or ecological economics, these two ideas have influenced me most. And those two ideas have influenced many, many people who have come to teach here at Schumacher College. People like Vandana Shiva, people like Fritjof Capra, people like James Lovelock. All these people have come to teach here because they see this holistic understanding. Just if you emphasize economy by itself, that's not holistic. Holistic is to see the science and spirituality, economics and ethics, they all come together. When you see those connections, then small scale and Buddhist economics, those two things make the education holistic. And when you have holistic education, then you can live a much better life.
Any other person, any other book? Any other person or book you'd like to recommend or cite as changing your life? Vinoba, Gandhi?
Mahatma Gandhi and his autobiography changed my life because I was a monk and I lived in a monastic order. And my philosophy at that time was that only thing matters for me is my personal salvation, my personal liberation, my personal spirituality. It was all very personal. Therefore, I was practicing spirituality in a monastic, closed environment. But Mahatma Gandhi said that is not a spirituality which everybody can practice. Not everybody can live in monasteries. So we have to bring spirituality in everyday life. We have to make politics spiritual, economics spiritual, business spiritual, agriculture spiritual. Everything has to be spirituality, informed by spirituality. And therefore, I thought that that is a very wonderful message. And so I left a monastic order and I brought spirituality into daily life, everyday life. So whatever you do, if you do with the right motivation, with a sense of service, with a sense of reciprocity, a sense of communication, sense of relationship, we are all connected, we are all related, and in that interconnection and interrelatedness, we serve each other without ego, but more as a kind of a sense of service and a sense of sacrifice. Then I think we can bring spirituality in everyday life. Ordinary things become extraordinary by this change of motivation, change of mindset, change of values. So that was the influence of Mahatma Gandhi and his autobiography, which is called My Experiments with Truth.
All right. If I could ask you one last thing. I heard you talking at Schumacher College on the 25th anniversary of it, and it was a very impressive talk, and the way you talk is really inspiring. And you talked about a mantra that you used to cite during the pilgrimage along the 4 nuclear capitals. I would like to know if you could be kind enough to repeat these words for us so that we can use them too.
The mantra which I used to chant during my walk for peace was Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. This is Sanskrit mantra, comes from Upanishads. And I translated this mantra into English. And the English translation is not exact word for word translation, but roughly the spirit of the mantra. And that mantra is, lead me from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead me from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our heart, our world, our universe. Peace, peace, peace. This is the mantra I chant. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you really much.
Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
very good.
So much energy, huh?
Yeah, it's
So much
okay.
vigor. Yeah, huh? Did you learn to believe? How was that? Did you learn to believe to develop your faith?
Yes, but also energy comes when you invite energy to come. It comes. But if you say to yourself, oh, I'm tired, I can't do it, I'm exhausted, energy goes away. But if you say, I'm ready, whatever needs to be done, I'm ready, energy, please come. Energy comes. So energy is a kind of potential. It's there, but asleep.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wake her up, and then she comes.
You know, Karina, we were talking earlier this day about self-criticism.
Yeah.
How self-criticism sometimes can be an obstacle for us to do things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Focus on your good quality, not on your bad quality, not your shortcomings. Focus on your good quality and increase those good qualities more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Then the shortcoming will disappear.
Mm-hmm.
If you focus on your shortcomings, they will grow bigger and bigger, and your good qualities will disappear. So what you focus on is not on your shortcomings, but on your good qualities. Yeah. Whatever good quality you have, just recognize it. Even if it's small, focus on it, it will get bigger, bigger, bigger.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.